Hello and welcome to my channel. In today's session, I will be showing you how we can call an external API in RAP, guys. This has been a very challenging task for many of us, how to call the external API in RAP. I have already created and shown you guys how we can call uh, SAP APIs in ABAP. Using the same technique, you can actually call any API for that matter uh, in ABAP. But so far, we have not yet seen how we can call any RAP, any API in ABAP, in RAP. So here I am today with yet another difficult scenario situation where we will look through the code on how we can actually go and call an external API in RAP. So let us move on. Now, how and where this is getting called? Okay, that is what we need to understand. First thing is we can actually create one button, an action, and we can call an API. Apart from there, that you can actually use the same thing in your additional save also in manage scenario where save modified will be actually implemented, and you can actually call this API and get the data and do whatever you want to do with that data. In my scenario, I will be using but by an action because that is the easiest way to just click and call it so that we can see it visually. Now, if you have seen my ABAP video on calling the SAP API or consuming SAP API in ABAP, we have actually used the CL HTTP client and create by URL method. But this does not exist in RAP, especially on cloud. Okay. So what is the other alternative? The alternative that SAP has provided is by using the CL HTTP destination provider that will take a URL and you can do a create by URL by passing the URL inside this. And using that destination, guys, then use CL Web HTTP Client Manager, which has a static method create by HTTP destination and pass that same destination to this particular class, and that will give you the client back. Now, using this, we just pass the destination. Destination is now linked to our URL. So our client is indirectly linked to the URL. And then after that, you can actually go and do the set or get method, give the content type, give the payload, whatever that particular URL needs, you will have to prepare the same way that we are doing once you get the client in ABAP as well. And using that client, then you can actually call, get the response back, and then pass the response and then move on. Okay. Now, one more thing with RAP, especially in case of the cloud, right? And since I am also using BTP cloud, I see that we don't have CL UI2 under slash UI2 slash CL JSON. This class does not exist in trial account, guys. So what I had to do is I will be actually using this particular free API, which is on rapidapi.com/hub. You can actually find it there. You will have to log in with your email ID and it will give you one key. That key you need to actually go and use in order to call this. Okay. And now using that thing, you have to pass the IATA, which is nothing but the airport ID, and it will give you the details of that particular airport with the name, location, street number, postal code, phone, latitude, longitude, this website, all those things it will give. Now, once we get this thing, now since we don't have deserialize, we have to write our own code. Remember this point that we'll have to use our own code to actually pass this JSON. And how I have done, since mine was a simple thing, I just remove this starting and ending curly braces, then split it on the comma to get each and every record. Now, some of them, they still have this, you see, comma here. We will have to loop it back so that, we get the same single line with a name value pair. And then split it by colon, remove these quotes, and then use as a name value pair, guys, to fill our structure. Now, let us get into the system and understand how this application works, and how then after that I will also walk you through the code of how we can actually go and create this application and call the API in it. Now, I am parallelly actually working on a member only videos that will have a detailed explanation on a hands-on on how we can go and do it. So if you want to actually leverage along with the source code access, guys, I would uh, request you to become a member so that you can have access to all my source code base, which are actually members only. So let me now go to my uh, application now and show you how that works. So here I am with my application, and what does this application do? Okay, this is the same thing that I have used. What I have done is I have just uh, used the way I want to implement it, that okay, I'll be getting an Excel file with all the codes, airport codes or airport IATA code that will be given to me in an Excel file. I will try to upload the Excel file and then call my API. Okay, so how it works? I will say create. When I create, as usual, uh, it will be for each user a file name that will be selected. So based on that, we will actually be going and filling in the data by uploading it. So you see, as usual, file not selected is given. I just go and select my file. As soon as I select the file, it says file selected, the time will be changed and upload data will be then enabled for me. Once the upload data is enabled, I can just go and upload that Excel file data. As soon as I upload that Excel file data, the upload data will be again made disabled. So unless and until I don't go and delete this thing and reselect my data, upload data will not be again enabled. Okay. So once you have uploaded, the upload data task is completed. Now, as you can see that now, since we have uploaded this data, we have got this whole thing wherein I am just taking the IATA, which is nothing but the airport ID, okay, that I will be using to call my API, guys. Okay, and how that API is done, I can select one. Since this is an action, it is always instance based, so they can select one or multiple, it doesn't matter. The airport ID call airport API button will be enabled. Now once this button is enabled, what it will do is, even though I'm selecting one, what I have created is that I will call this API for all the records in our airport data, okay, in this particular table. So if I call that, what it will do is it will go and call the API. It will read the data for each and every line. And then based on that line, it will go and uh, read the data fill in the airport IDs, everything for me. You see, city, state, everything it will fill in and it will give me the data back. Okay. Now, once we get this data back, you can actually create it. Okay. And then once it is done, it is already been, uh, you know, completed, and you see the call airport API will not be again shown. Even if you edit also, now there is no way that you can actually go and uh, call the uh, API again, because it is already gone and we have already used it. So this will prevent the end user to recalling it, thereby actually saving some resources there, right? Now you can still go and just try to select on this thing, but you see I have not given the update and delete as well here, so they can only upload it. Now it all depends on you guys, if you want to upload the data, and still if you want to give some of the changes that a user can do, you can actually have a update uh, thing triggered here, right? You can actually give that. How I have done is in the projection view behavior definition, I've just commented that out and we have seen it very easy, guys. Okay. So let me now go to my Eclipse and show you what are the things that we have to do in order to, uh, you know, get this thing going. So let me go to my Eclipse now. Okay. And let us understand what are the changes that we have to do. So first thing, as usual, let me show you the our user table. That was the draft table. So this is the user table wherein we have the again same thing for each and every end user. A file ID will be generated with the file status. Attachment MIME type file name is the large object concept. If you want to know how you should go about using this large object, you can watch my detailed video on uploading Excel file in RFE. Okay. Then I also have the data with me, which is having a foreign key relationship with end user and file ID. And using that end user and file ID, this IATA key will be added. It will be again a unique key for each and every uh, airport ID. And then I have this whole thing as per what it will be there in our API. Okay, in our API. So that API we have already seen in our PPT that the uh, that is being actually shown to us. Okay. So now, since we have these two, the next step is to actually go and create an interface on both the API user and API data. And how that is being done? As usual, in our user, we have a composition to our data and we expose the data. Similarly, we also have association to parent in our child entity with the key fields attached, and that is also exposed. Similarly, for the projection view, now in our projection view, guys, as usual, we have seen that for attachment, we are giving the large object with MIME type, and I'm just taking Excel file as my input parameter. This two file name and file MIME type should be linked to my MIME type file name and MIME type respectively. And again, this is case sensitive, guys. Whatever is here, you give exact name here. Okay. If I give capital T here, it is not going to work out. Okay. Now, and the link between the projection view is done using a redirected to composition child and give the composition child projection entity of the composition child. Similarly, in our child, we say redirected to parent with the projection view of the parent. Okay, this we have been looking into in many other videos, right? And then comes the behavior definition. And in the behavior definition, what I have done is I have just used the same logic of using the draft, because we are using large objects and we have to then go and create a version 4. And version 4, draft without a version 4 is a read-only application, right? So we have to go and create a version 4. So we need a draft also. So now with the draft, I have just gone and created my behavior, which will have a early numbering, and using that early numbering, I will actually go and fill my primary keys in my user table, and then I have a determination whenever a end user is changed, you change the file status. At the same time, whenever the file is actually being modified, file name, the file is selected, or the file, if it is selected, you are just deleting the file name. This determination will be called. And I have some side effects as usual. Okay, if you want to know more about the side effects, I already have a video that will actually go and give you the insight or the detailed description on how we can use the side effect. Please go and watch that. It is a pretty good concept to change the data on the fly during the uh, create or update operation. Okay, then since it is a draft action, we have these 5 actions that we have to actually add, and the mapping. Pretty easy, guys. Similarly, for our child entity API data, we again have the same draft table. Here also, we have to just go and create a draft table and just use control 1 to quick fix and create the draft table. Now here, even though I've say update and delete here, okay, association is with draft, I have also created an action call external API that will actually call the external API, guys. And I have given the feature instance to switch it, enable or disable. Okay. And in my projection entity, projection behavior definition, pretty easy. I am just commenting these 2 out. I'm not giving the update and delete guys to them, and the rest everything will be just used. So here you use the upload Excel airport, here you use the action call API, and they both are actually related to each other with draft as an association. Don't forget to use side effect and use draft here. Okay, finally we create a service definition, and that service definition will be exposing both my projection entities. Okay, and finally version v4 UI is what I have created. Now how this whole thing works, let me show you that as well. So in my interface behavior definition, right, I already have these files, the API user, and this is actually implemented in this class, guys. Okay, so let me go to this class wherein we will have all the implementation. Now what I have done is I have actually created one global class that has the uh, Excel that I will be taking along with all the fields from my ZMAKS eAPI data. Okay, exactly the same. Now what this will do is this will be used to actually upload my data. Okay, because user will allow me to upload also. And in my local types, okay, there are all this early numbering, and this is my airport Excel action. Fill file status is my determination, and fill file selected is also my determination. Okay, apart from that, what I have created is I have created the upload Excel airport Excel as a separate method that I will be calling to actually read it. This is because tomorrow, if you want to add one more Excel file with some different data, right, that will have the same thing in a different format, you can still use it. And this is a good technique where you can actually go and upload multiple data, Excel file or multiple sheets. within that Excel file in multiple data in multiple entities in your thing. If you want to know more about it, you can go and watch my uh, video on importing multiple Excel sheets in RAP. Okay. Now, and I have also created some file entities that is based on our API user and our actual and GT data. That is nothing but our API data. Okay. This is our API data type and it is stable for create, guys. Okay. That is what I am using here because I want to upload and create the entities. Now, in my feature instance, I am just saying that if my airport Excel, if the file is selected, then only you enabled it, otherwise disable the thing. My airport, my upload data or upload Excel, that top right button will be enabled if my file status is file selected. Other than that, it will be disabled. Similarly, my API data, this is an association to API that I am actually passing. How it is been done? If you come here, you see I have added a feature instance to API data during create. So if you give this feature instance for the create method, you can have this exposed here. Then under percentage association that you can use. And if the file is processed, then you disable it, otherwise enabled. Okay. Now, once this has been done, the early numbering is what, when you click on create, the early numbering will be called. Okay. What we are doing here is we are just getting the username from the CL ABAP context info. That is the class which is equivalent to our SY class in ABAP. That will have a static method get user technical name, which will give me my user ID. That user ID, I am just filling it in my entities because entity will come. In this case, it will be only one entity, but it is better to actually loop it. I am adding one entity in my entities and I am saying reference into, okay, appending the record to my mapped API user reference into LO user. This is like saying append into a table, assigning field symbol rather than using field symbol. Reference into is a good option, guys. Okay, above 7.4. Now, once that is done, I am also generating my file ID here. Now, you know that we already have, as soon as my end user is modified, the fill file status should be triggered as a determination. So it will call my fill file status. What it will do, it will just go get the data from my API user, and I am just saying file not selected. Okay, I'm changing it to my file not selected. And once that is done, the user will go and select the file, right? At that point in time, the attachment will be modified and fill selected file status will be called. And this will be just read that data, okay, and delete the existing data. Because if the guy is actually selecting the data, that means the any other existing data should be wiped out. And that is what I am doing here using read entities by association and then modify entities using a delete command, right? If you want to know more about EML, I already have a complete playlist that where I have explained all the EML statements that we widely use. Okay, so go and watch that. You will learn more about EML there. Once that is done, I am just taking a timestamp and I am looping into my API user, changing the file status. If the attachment is selected, then file not selected. If attachment is there, then file selected. And then I am also changing my timestamp for that action. Now, once this is there, the file is selected. the user goes and clicks on the upload Excel button, and here I am just reading the API user, which will have my which will have my attachment. That attachment, if it is filled, then it will go and upload. Ideally, since I am actually uh, disabling it, this code doesn't work or it will not be called, but it's better to have it. Okay. And then I'm getting all my keys in my GT keys because I'll be using it somewhere also in case of multiple worksheets. Then if the MIME type is Excel, then I am just going and calling the my custom method to upload the airport Excel. If that fail, I'm saying wrong format. If that doesn't fail, whatever data I am getting in my GT actual data, that I am actually preparing it here in my GT data, and this GT data is table for create, guys. Okay, using that, I will just delete any existing data if at all, and modify entities create by So this is create by association. Okay, there we have seen read by association. This is create by association and using GT data, right? And then just change the status to file uploaded. Okay, and then once the file uploaded is there, I'm reading that updated entry and passing that updated entry to my result to display it on the fly. And how that will be displayed on the fly using this side effect. You see, whenever a field attachment is changed, you just, these are the fields that are actually getting impacted. Similarly, whenever an upload Excel action is triggered, self and entity API data and messages will be triggered or will be changed. So those things will be then, what to say, uh, repainted or re-rendered on the screen, so that you see that okay, the file status is actually changed when you actually upload it, or when you select the file, or when you delete the file. So getting those kind of things, this side effect is very, very helpful, guys. Okay, now let us see the main Excel upload. This Excel upload will be actually the same code, XCOCPXLS. Get it, read the data. If you don't read the data properly, then just say RV failed and wrong format, or validate the header by taking the first record and then go there. Okay. Now, once that is done, then you just loop at the Excel data from, I'm just deleting for record number 1 and then taking all and filling my things in this case, I just want to actually have IIT data. That's it. And then GT actual data will be filled in. Once the GT Excel data will be filled in, that will be actually then gone and edited. Now coming to our main thing, which is how we can actually call this external API, and this is from another class, guys. Okay, so let me go to this class, and here also what I have done is I have just said airport ID. Okay, that is what I will be actually using here. So that is my URL. Okay, this is the URL that I have got from the Rapid API. I have also created one internal table for myself as a type, which will take only IATA. Using that, actually, I will go and fill in all my values here. Okay, and for that also I have created a type. Now, how this whole thing will work? Let us go and see our private section. Again, get instance feature, call external API, and then I have also created my call airport API and parse JSON response, which will take airport IDs. It will give me airport details, which is nothing but the saved data, and this will be matching with my database table, guys. That this data API data table. And parse JSON, I have to actually just, since I have shown, they told you that, okay, there is no UI2 slash CL JSON deserialize. I have to go and create myself. So these two are my custom thing, and I have actually created a API data type G data. Instance, again, just read the data and fill in the value whether it is enabled or disabled for call external action, call external API action. If I am just reading everything, and just if it is if there is any name which is initial, then enable, otherwise disable. Okay. Now, once that is done, our call external API is the method or the action that will be called, wherein I am just reading the API user as well as my child entities. Read by read entities and read by association entities to get both this data. This I need to change my file status once it is triggered, file processed, uh, and then using this API data, I will just take wherever the name is initial, only process that, because whenever you have processed already, then the name will be not blank. And then I am just calling my airport API. Let me go there. How we are going to do that is I am just passing my LT airport ID. So multiple airport IDs will be actually coming in. I am just adding my airport URL. And you see here, if you go here, I have ITA equal to, and then here I have to actually pass KUL, HYD, whatever we need, right? So that I am adding here, and using that URL, use CL HTTP destination provider static method create by URL to get your destination. If you are not able to get it, just continue. Ideally, you will get it. Then using that, use the CL web HTTP client manager to and pass the create by HTTP destination, pass the destination to get your client. Once you get your client, using that client, you can create your request object and of course the response object as well. So in the request object, I am filling these two, and that is what the API says. You have to actually set these two header fields: X API, X dash rapid API dash host, and X dash rapid API dash key. This is a fixed one, airport dash info dot p dot rapid API.com is what you have to fill. And this one is your rapid API key. So you go register yourself there uh, with your any Gmail ID, any personal email ID or whatever ID, and then it will give generate an API key that you have to put it here, guys. This is very important. If you don't give the proper API key, you will not be able to access it. I'm setting the content type as application JSON. Now, using that client, I am just executing the get method. The method name is web HTTP client get. It will give me the response back. Now, using that response, I will get my response using the get text. And if there is any error, this is what initially it passes back, the first line. I'm checking that. If it is not equal to error, then only you go and parse the JSON. And how you parse the JSON, we will see in a bit. And then that will actually give me my LS airport detail back. Okay, which I have to go and fill it in my city airport back, right? If there is an error, I am saying invalid airport ID. In both the cases, my city airport ID will be filled with the name filled with invalid airport ID. Okay, and the parse JSON, right? This parse JSON, what I am doing, I am just taking the JSON file, the JSON response as a string, putting it in a local variable because I have to actually do the operations on this string, just removing the right and left curly braces, you see. Then line separator for me is comma. I'm just separating it in with comma, and using that I will be getting multiple records. Using that record, if my first record is not a double quotes, that means it has actually, the value has comma in it, that I am concatenating back here using this assign hello, and then using that previous record and deleting it. So now finally I will have the key value pair here, wherein I just go read I'm just removing the double quotes and then splitting it with field separator, which is nothing but my colon here. Using that colon, it will give me name value pair, which I'm storing it as a string in a local variable local structure basically, which will have name as string and value as string. Now using that name, I am just assigning the name value to a field symbol called value and just replacing the value with the value that we have read, and this will loop in for all the items. And where it will come here, which will give me ls airport detail, which is then put into my city airport data, which is nothing but it will come here. City airport data is uh, airport data where which is actually being called when I am calling it here, which is nothing but my LT airport data. Using my LT airport data, I'm filling my GT data and then moving on, right? So this is how the whole thing works, guys. Okay. Hope I was able to make you understand this. I would rather suggest that you just go and practice. If you are finding it difficult, you can comment out, and probably I will try to respond as early as possible. Practice it. This is just a normal thing, any API that can be called. Okay. Requesting you to please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell icon so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get notified. Okay. Also do practice, guys, because every API that you will be using is different. So try and understand the API first, what it is needed. Sometimes you might need to actually pass the payload. So using that the request object, you can actually set the payload also. You can use the set data there to actually create your own payload the way you want and then pass it on. Okay. If you want to actually support, I would request you to support me by scanning the QR code and helping me with whatever way you can. If you want to also help me, you can join my channel. By joining the channel, you will get exclusive access to some of my code base and some of my videos that I am making especially for members only, wherein I will be going and showing you the detail uh, hands-on many of the times. So it will be beneficial for you. I would suggest that you also uh, do join my channel and support me. With that, I would like to stop here. Thank you and happy learning.